Welcome everybody to this Michael Albany, michaelalbany.com, and Michael Albany Photography. This is part 2 of our Photomatix Pro 3.2 overview / tutorial. We've already gone over the tone compressor in part 1. If you haven't watched that, I would suggest you take a look at that. Right now we're going to go over the details enhancer. And when we first import our image into Photomatix Pro, and before we bring it into the tone mapping area, we're going to see what looks to be a rather flat image. A flat image is something that the colors are not very well saturated and there's not a whole lot that's really interesting about it. But if we go into these presets, and we're going to start at the bottom for a change, and we're going to click on these presets, we're set at default right now. We can go into what is considered natural looking, and we'll give it a moment to process. It's still kind of flat. It's still blending our three images together and giving us highlights and low, shadows and things like that. But it's not really enhancing our image much. If we go into smooth skies, what that'll do is that'll help reduce the noise, but again, it's a very bright and very flat image. You can still go into all the different areas and adjust from here, or you can go into the defaults, or you could go into Painterly. Painterly is something that is a little bit different. We'll notice that there's a little bit more noise in the sky area here, but if you really want to see noise, go into the grunge and you will see a lot of noise. See all that noise up in the sky we have up here? We can really pick up the vignetting from the lens that I used that day. Our colors are very highly saturated, and you'll see up here that our strength is 100%. On our details, our color saturation is at 80, luminosity is all the way up to 10, micro contrasting is all the way up to 10, our smoothing is in light mode and it's set to low, and there's some other things, but we'll go back into that in a moment. We'll go into each one of those. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump back to default so that we can see how each slider works. Now with the sliders, what you have is, the first thing you have is strength. How much tone mapping are you doing? If you do none and you slide it all the way to the left, boring. But if you slide it all the way to the right, it may be too much. Once it processes, it's still in a fairly flat image. You don't have a lot of pop to it, but you can see how it's really blended things together. I like to start by a default of about 85 to 90. We'll go with 90 this time. Then we can go into color saturation. Now you'll notice that every time I use a slider, it updates the actual slide of it updates the image right away. So we're going to increase our color saturation. We'll go up to about 65 just to see what it does for us. And you'll notice that the blues are really popping now, but the rest, the buildings, the brush along the river here, still kind of flat. We could go into luminosity and increase it, which is really going to brighten us up again, or we could go into the negative and it's going to darken us up again. Neither of which do I really want to do at this time with this particular image, so we'll slide it back, and it's 0.1, but that's close enough. Our micro contrast basically brings up contrasts within the image, and in the smallest areas of the image and the tiniest points we can increase or decrease. Again, decrease is going to make us a little flat. We're going to bring that up a little bit to probably about a 2.5 just for the sake of argument, and gives us a deeper, richer color to it. And then we have smoothing. How well does it smooth the blended different colors together? If we take it all the way down to low, or the bottoms, you'll notice that you get halos around the buildings and halos in the sky because it's not smoothing those transitions of color as well. If we bring it up, that'll give you more of a Harry Potter type look, whereas if we go up towards the other end of the spectrum, around 8, 9, 10, and we'll go all the way up to 10 for starters just to see what it looks like, we'll notice that our sky is very smooth and our water is very smooth, and we're getting a little bit better in our trees, but it's a little bit of overkill. We're getting a little too much saturation. So let's back that off to about 7, which should be a fairly natural look to it. It is. We get a little vignettings coming back so that we have the natural look of it. Now what we can do is we go into our other menus and we look at tone settings. In tone settings, this is where you can set your white point. You can set your white point all the way off, which makes your image darker. You can set it all the way up to a full 5%. I like to go around 50%, or 0.5%, I should say, so right about there, 0.490. Sometimes I'll go to 1/4%. With the black point, I almost always go to 1/4%. It's just the way I like the images, plus it's an easy point in the slider to find. And if I let go of that, and then we'll be able to see that kick in, and it gives a good contrast. Now, again, you can go all the way up, and you'll get some heavy-duty black point, and it really brings the blacks out, which in times can work very well for you. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go a little higher than I usually go, and we'll probably go up to, let's see, 0.35 or 333. Yeah, let's go with 333, just for the sake of argument. Gives us a good contrast, good color, mixes it up quite a bit. Then what we can do is we can go into gamma, and we can, slide it to the positive side, and you see how that really washes things out and gives us that surreal look again, but still way too bright and way too flat. Or we could go all the way down to 2, and it looks like a really, really dark night scene, which is kind of interesting, but too dark to really enjoy. So we're going to bring that back up to about 1, which is where it came from, the default. Right there. And we'll leave that just about where it is, because that's a good mix. Now what we'll do is we'll close that, and we're going to go into color settings next. And temperature is exactly what you expect it to be. Slide it to the right and things get warmer, slide it to the left and things get cooler, and slide it in the middle and it's about where they were when you brought them in. Saturation of highlights, you can increase your highlights like your lights and things like that and really increase those saturations. You'll see in this area here we got very, very orange, or you can decrease them as well. Now what we'll do is, that kind of brings us to that flat zone again. Again, we're going to leave this at the default in this case. There we go. And then the saturation shadows, which is the same thing, only for the shadows. If we go all the way to the left, you can see that it kind of flattens out to the right side of our screen here, right down in this area. You can see how it changed that. If we increase it above to say 3.5 or so, you can see where it brings up some color in the water. We're going to bring that up to about 2.5 right there, just because I like that little detail. And we're going to go into miscellaneous settings real quick, and then we'll move on to part 3 of the tutorial. But for right now, micro smoothing is just really smoothing out those minor details. This is where you want to go in and you really want to play with what looks best for the image you're working. The differences are subtle. You don't want to go too high. I go into right around 4.3 to sometimes around 2. This time I think we'll go at about 3. Highlight smoothness, again, it smooths the highlights, make sure that they blend as well as they can. Shadow smoothness the same, only on the shadow side. This time I'm going to leave that down. Shadow clipping is going to make sure that we either do or don't clip our shadows. And you can see that those reactions are very, very subtle. There is a 360-degree button if you're doing 360-degree images, doing good panoramas. And what we're going to do is we're going to export this out, and we're going to play a little bit of it in Photoshop and things like that. But that'll be part 3 of our tutorial, so stay tuned. And until then, happy shooting!